So, back for episode 4 of the Vegan Alliance podcast. Thanks for listening. It's been a busy few weeks, I guess, pretty news heavy with the whole presidential campaign in the States, with the unfortunate success by Mr. Donald Trump. Something I just wanted to briefly touch base on in this episode. But firstly, in this episode, I'm actually going to play an interview that I just did with my good friend Stu. He's over from Melbourne. His name's Stuart Manuell, and he's been a good friend of mine for a long time now, well over probably somewhere around the 15-year mark. We grew up together in the punk and hardcore scene. He's been a vegan for a long time, and he's got a lot of great ideas and opinions, and I thought he happened to be over here for my engagement, which was yesterday, and I thought I'd get him on the podcast, so I'm going to play that shortly. But yeah, just wanted to sort of touch base on the sort of mentality of the human race at the moment, and the fact that someone like Donald Trump can be voted into power. It's quite mind-blowing. Someone that's so blatantly sexist and racist and really selfish can be actually looked at as a potential candidate. And not that I think that any president is really that much better than the other, but Donald Trump, I mean, come on, there's how many 300 million people live in the United States, and he was the best they could do. Like, there's so many other amazing people on this world that could do such a better job, and to think that someone that is so hate-filled can be voted in, it really just goes to show how most of the population thinks. I mean, and it's a shame. I think we need to be spreading this message of kindness and compassion, and I think it starts with what's on your plate. I mean, if we can be kind and compassionate to animals, we can be kind and compassionate to humans, and I think making that connection to animals definitely spawns a whole kind of new level of kindness and compassion just in general. So I think that now more than ever we need to spread this message and start sending one of love. I mean, why are we so hate-filled? We're so against things that we don't know, or people that we're unfamiliar with, or we've got to be scared of people that have come from a different background than us, or people that don't live the same as us, or have different religions or whatever. I mean, there's just nothing to be scared of. We're all different. We all live in this world together. We're just organisms on a floating ball through space, and we need to really just realize that and all try to get along. I mean, it's not possible for everybody to get along all the time. I understand that, but this hatred towards other humans. I mean, I definitely have a bit of a distaste for humanity in general, but it's not that I hate people like a racist hates people. I don't hate people because of the color of their skin. I don't hate people because of their religion. I don't hate people because they do something a little bit differently to me. But I really feel quite strongly that humanity's kind of lost its way a little bit, and the way that we treat each other, and the way that we treat animals, and the way that we are so selfish. I think it's really put a little bit of a dampener. Probably in the last few weeks, I've definitely noticed it a little bit more, that I felt a little bit sort of down towards, the whole human race. And I don't like feeling like that, but that's just something that happens, and I'm trying to sort of overcome that a little bit. But it's pretty sort of disheartening when you see, what we do firstly to animals, and then the fact that someone like, well, not just Donald Trump, Tony Abbott, any of these politicians that just have no regard for anyone but themselves and the people surrounding them, that these people can be seen as the right people to lead our world. It's insane. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not an expert on American politics, and it's just something that's been in the news so much lately, and I just wanted to touch base on it. I thought it was just so disappointing to see that, coming from someone like Barack Obama, he's not perfect or whatever, but yes, he's a half sensible person. He's not a complete lunatic. To someone like Donald Trump, who's just about money and power and hating everybody, and I mean, yeah, let's start spreading the right message. Let's start living with kindness and compassion, and then we'd love to make this world a better place. I mean, at the rate it's going, it's really sort of going downhill. It's really been bumming me out a little bit. So anyway, that's sort of my opening rant for the podcast. But before I get into the interview with Stu, I have been to the last weekend, the Vegan Festival was on in Adelaide, which was a 2-day festival. There was not quite sure how many people ended up getting there, but it was a really good turnout and much, much bigger than any of the other vegan festivals we've had in Adelaide recently. And so many great stalls, had so many great conversations with people. I watched a heap of talks. I saw a little bit of James Aspey again. I saw David Cole speak, who's an Adelaide guy who really, really knows his shit, and he's he's very unapologetic and really sort of gets his message out there. And he does a website called Unedited Space. So check that out. I think he's just done a recent interview with Joey Carbstrong as well, which I haven't watched, but I am planning on watching this week. And a very intelligent guy. So check out what he's doing. Had lots of great food at the Vegan Festival again. As every vegan festival, there's always delicious food. And just great. It was something that I really needed. Again, every time I'm around these kind of festivals around like-minded people, I just feel like I'm at home. And it's sort of like the last sort of month or so with the World Vegan Day in Melbourne and Vegan Festival in Adelaide, had these sort of really great opportunities to reset and sort of get myself back on the right path and get inspired. And and I met a few people that are enjoying the podcast and a few people that are into what I'm doing with the Vegan Alliance. And it's just great to touch base with people because there's nothing better than meeting people that are the same as you and are actually paying attention to some of the efforts that you're putting into your cause. So thanks to anyone that's come up and had a chat to me. If you ever see me out and about, I'd love to chat to people because that's what it's all about, really, is networking and sort of bonding, and we're all in this together. We're all fighting for the same causes. So let's try and make the world a little bit of a better place, and let's try and not be, there's a lot of shitty people out there, and in general, humans aren't the best of the species, but let's try and make it a little bit better, and let's try and do our bit. So that was great. Vegan Festival was fantastic, and it was good to see something do so well that's so in line with great morals and a really good message. So that was great. This weekend, I just wanted to touch base on this briefly. Not that maybe any of you will be that overly interested in the fact that I had an engagement party yesterday, but I wanted to bring it up because we did a full vegan engagement party. And, we had about 90 people there, family and friends from all over. And we ordered a bunch of pizzas from one of my favourite pizza shops in Adelaide called Marion Dialer Pizza. They do delicious deep crust, deep pan stuffed crust vegan pizzas. Oh, they're absolutely unreal. And we ordered about 28 pizzas and a heap of vegan garlic bread and some gluten-free vegan pizzas for the gluten-free people that were there. And everyone was just eating them, and I think a lot of people probably assumed that we were having a vegan-only food based on the fact that it was myself and Amy, who are quite staunch vegans. But a lot of people didn't know, and they were eating it, saying it was delicious. And people like my mum was like, "Oh, it's all vegan," and they were like, "Wow, this is vegan! Like, I can't believe it!" And people coming up to me saying how fantastic the food was, and it was so delicious. And we had cashew cheeses and all different types of biscuits and crackers and stuff on the tables, and lots of different vegan dips. And I think people were quite blown away by the fact that it wasn't just salad. And it's just really goes to show that pretty much anything that you want to eat, you can eat vegan, and it tastes just as good. And you can fool anybody who loves eating meat or dairy or any animal product that what they're eating is, like, you can actually make them believe that what they're eating is an animal product, but it's not. And that, some people, again, probably think it's a little bit weird that you want to replicate animal products, but that's what we've been grown up eating. So if we can replicate something that we're used to and alleviate the suffering, that's what it's all about. So I was really, really happy at the response we got from the food from our engagement party yesterday, and it was it was a great day. So I'm going to play the interview now that I did with Stu a little earlier on today. And I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I got my good friend Stu here. He's over from Melbourne at the moment. He used to live in Adelaide, and we grew up in the hardcore music scene together. He's been a vegan for a long time, and I thought he'd be an interesting person to have on the podcast. He's got a few great things to say. So, welcome, Stu.
Thank you.
And I thought I'd first start off just with asking, why did you become vegan?
Well, I was vegetarian before I was vegan, and I was vegetarian primarily for ethical reasons. And one day I was thinking about it, and I just thought, in order to be 100% ethical across the board, I couldn't ignore the practices that occur within the dairy industry, within the egg industry, and also in regards to, fur and leather, and all those kinds of things.
So it's all just as bad as each other, really, isn't it?
That's it. I mean, a living sentient being has to die in order for those, for these things to occur. And, people might say, oh, well, nothing has to die when it comes to dairy, but that's clearly not true. And and I guess we'll come to this like a bit later in this discussion, but you can't get angry for people for thinking that, because the meat and dairy industry does such a good job at disguising it and making it seem like everything is like lovely and the animals are happy, but it's just not the case. And in order for me to be 100% consistent ethically, I had to cancel out eggs and dairy.
Yeah, because really when you think about it, is like, I mean, it's a great first step for someone to go vegetarian if they're sort of making that transition, but I think it should be a transition all the way through to veganism, because if you're just going vegetarian, you're eliminating some suffering by not perhaps eating the meat and contributing to that, but then you're still contributing to the dairy industry, which most people think isn't that cruel because the cows need to be milked, which is not really true. I mean, a cow produces milk to feed its babies, and naturally the babies would drink the milk, and that would provide enough milk for that baby. Yeah. But we have messed with their system so much that they overproduce. They make so much milk, and they take the babies away, and then they keep milking them. They kill the calves. It's pretty much just as cruel as the meat industry, isn't it?
And, I agree with that, and I just think just on a mental level as well, just not wanting to ingest byproducts of pain and suffering does wonders for your mental health too. Do you know what I mean? Even if you're so completely unaware of the practices that you're consuming these products and not thinking about it, but it's a case of once you know, you can't unknow. Do you know what I mean? Once you have been exposed to the horrors that are going on within these industries, you can't forget it.
And that's the thing. And then
I think if you are a person that does know what goes on, and you're still consuming them, like, there has to be some sort of internal conflict or guilt every time that you're doing it, but you just choose to forget. You're
exactly.
It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
But see, that's some people. People always say, I understand, it's really horrible. I hate watching all those videos. I hate seeing all that stuff. But, I really enjoy eating this, or I just don't think I could do it. It's like, if you really were affected by what you saw, you just wouldn't contribute to it, no matter how much you like the taste, no matter how much you thought it might inconvenience you. It's like anything. If you knew something was causing a human suffering, you would stop doing it, because you wouldn't, no matter whether you thought it was a good idea or not, you would stop, because you don't want another person to suffer. Yet, because you don't see the animals suffer, people just choose to ignore it, because they can detach themselves from it, because slaughterhouses are miles away from where anyone lives. We never see them. So there's that separation, and people don't really make that connection, do they?
Yeah, and I mean, that goes into the whole disconnection that people have with animals. Like, everyone is quick to say how delicious a steak is, or how good a pork chop looks when it's wrapped in cling wrap on the supermarket shelf. But at the same time, those exact same people will be the first to say how gross that is, that there's a beheaded cow on their computer screen, or a a sheep that's on the runway to get slaughtered and is terrified and trying to get out, and they're saying, "Oh, we don't want to see that. That makes me feel sad."
But that's what you're contributing to.
Well, and not only that's what you're contributing to, that's what that delicious pork chop is. That's what that delicious steak is. That was a terrified animal that didn't want to die and was killed behind a specifically designed big concrete wall that the public can't see, because if the public could see everything that was going on, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and the majority of people would be eating plants, because no one wants to see an animal die, and furthermore, no one wants to see an animal in distress or pain. It makes no sense. And
you just need to think of your pets. If you've got a pet dog or a cat, that's the easiest way to make the connection is, would you want your pet cat or dog to suffer? No one would want that. People are appalled at any type of suffering with, especially, dogs. If you see dogs harmed, dog fighting, dogs being eaten in China, people were so appalled by it, yet pretty much exactly the same, or not pretty much, exactly the same thing happens to other animals who are exactly of the same intelligence, if not more.
And we were talking about it last night.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a double standard of society. Like, for example, for a topic that most people can relate to, everyone in society seems to think that drinking is okay, and when people have too much to drink and they're out of control and they're a bit rowdy, that's kind of funny. And if you're throwing up and just being like a bit of a mess, like, that's kind of funny. And you can go into the office on Monday and be like, "Oh, I had a big night last night. It was wild. I ended up throwing up in the bushes, and I don't know, somehow my pants went missing, and I don't even know what's going on."
But if it was another substance...
But yeah, if you were like, "Yeah, I had a great Saturday night and I spent it on the couch shooting up full of heroin," people would be like,
"Well, that's weird. Why are you doing that?"
That's a bit disturbing. And the same thing goes with animals. If you said, "Oh, I had a great steak on Saturday night. It was delicious and I really loved it," people would go, "Oh, that's good.
Oh, where'd you buy that from?"
But if you went into work and said, "Oh yeah, I cut up my dog on the weekend and we put that on the barbie and it was
had some dog steaks.
It was fucking delicious," someone would say, "What's
wrong with you?"
That's not right. That's horrific.
And report you to the RSPCA or the police. And that's exactly the same thing, isn't it? It's just what we're brought up to believe, or to believe is right, is all based on what society teaches us and what's ingrained into us from children.
If killing and hurting an animal is deemed to be incorrect, then why doesn't it apply to all animals? Why are dogs and cats held up high, but cows, sheep, and pigs are somehow exempt from the rule? It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think people who Lambchops is a pretty big Australian kind of meal item, I guess, right? And there's the Australia Day, eat lots of lamb, whatever. Do you think everybody's actually thought about that the little cute lamb that everybody sees and loves to play with and the lamb chops are the same thing?
Not at all. And that, again, that's like, you've got to, as much as I hate these horrible people, you've got to give props to the meat industry for the most brilliant marketing campaign.
They're the best. They're the best at marketing out of any industry in the world.
They'll tell you that, eating meat will give you all your iron and it'll make you healthy, but they won't tell you that eating excess amounts of meat can also lead to cancer, can also lead to heart disease, can also lead to all these, terrible, debilitating illnesses. And
they also forget to tell you that, they're very good at saying that their products give you the protein and the iron, but they actually forget, and because people are so brainwashed by meat industry propaganda, they actually forget, and people don't ever learn or think that vegetables also contain all these things. And that's why you get that classic thing is, where do you get your protein? It doesn't just exist in meat. There's protein in meat. We're not going to deny that. There's also a lot of other crap in meat, and there's plenty of protein in other things that are much healthier for you.
And again, like, the meat industry won't show that the deaths of these millions, maybe even billions of animals per year aren't consensual. Not one of those animals is lining up saying, "Yep, hey guys, I'm volunteering today. Please slit my throat.
I want to save the planet. I need to give them their protein.
Hang me up by my hooves and cut my throat, and I'll gladly bleed out so you can eat me." Not one animal is saying that.
And that's because everything that once life is life, it wants to live, right? A sentient being wants to live. And no matter what you say, no matter how humane you might think it is, no matter how ethically grass-fed, blah, 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 whatever bullshit they put on labels these days to make things sound better than they are, either way, the animal that you killed or the animal that was killed for your food did not want to die. So that's what makes it wrong.
But I mean, like, and while we can say that, you know, there's so much stuff wrong with the practices and procedures of providing meat for people, on the same side, I find it really hard to get angry with a lot of people because people just don't know.
They don't know. Yeah, that's correct.
You know, like if you had a lamb and a lamb cutlet, I'd think so many people wouldn't make the connection. They don't see that one is the other.
Exactly, and they don't want to go like if they do know, they don't want to know the process in between. They just want to be like, that's a cute lamb, these are lamb chops. I eat the lamb chops. I don't want to kill the lamb, but if someone else wants to kill it and package it for me, I will eat it. And that's what's wrong with it, because people think they're not directly contributing to it and that they can't make a difference. But these days, I heard something the other day at World Vegan Day that there's about 600 million vegans and vegetarians worldwide now. And not to mention all the meat reducers as well. So there's a massive demand for like vegan products. And if, you know, the people who say that one person can't make a difference, well, now there's nearly 600 million people who don't want to eat meat. Do you think that's not making a difference? That's a massive army of people and a massive demand off the market. Hence why all these companies are, you know, switching to plant-based products and, you know, trying to like just get on board the vegan wagon a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, people can say what they want. They can say that, you know, veganism is a waste of time. They can say that, you know, eating plants is boring. There's no flavour. Well, it's like...
What did you just have for lunch?
I just had a vegan seafood basket.
With prawns, calamari, fish.
I also had a cheeseburger pie, and I had a donoli, which is a donut crossed with a cannoli filled with custard.
That's quite a lot for lunch, yeah.
Yeah, I was... I'm big.
It was a bit peckish today.
But, oh my God, it was unbelievable. And all of it was flavoursome. All of it was delicious. May not have been the healthiest,
but hey,
healthiest lunch.
You don't, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you just have to eat raw broccoli. I mean, you can eat that if you want, but there's plenty of other
You know
foods.
what? It's 2016. It's not the dark ages anymore. And the options are endless. Anything you can eat meat-based,
absolutely anything.
We can make vegan.
I can't think of anything that you couldn't get that's not that, like for an animal product, that you can't get a vegan version of.
Yeah.
Nothing. I couldn't think of anything at all. And people screw their nose up at it. Like I said in the last episode of the podcast, I was at a supermarket once and some lady was talking to another lady about, oh, this is tofurkey. It's like vegetarian pepperoni. And her friend kind of made this like noise like she wanted to vomit, like, yuck. And I was thinking to myself, actually, it shouldn't be the other way around. Like in meat pepperoni, that's the disgusting stuff. That's coming from like the slaughterhouse scraps and it's just flavoured with a bunch of crap. This stuff's just plants. I mean, you eat plants anyway with your meat. So what's so disgusting about it? People just have it ingrained in their head that if it's not real meat and if it's not an animal product, it's disgusting. If it's been fabricated like an animal product, it's disgusting.
And the irony of that whole situation is if those two women went to a slaughterhouse and saw where the pepperoni came from and what has to go into
they'd actually vomit.
Yeah, they'd be like...
Yeah. They would actually vomit and they probably would never eat meat again.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know which way you want to call it, but slaughterhouses are a long way away from where people live generally.
And that's not coincidental either. It's 100% on purpose.
Yeah, it's on purpose.
The meat
100%.
industry doesn't want you to see what happens. The meat industry doesn't want you to be aware of the practices that are going on. The dairy industry doesn't want you to see the infected udders of cows that have been over-milked while they're pumped with hormones to make their bodies think that they're still pregnant, so they keep producing milk for a calf that isn't there. They want you to remain ignorant, they want you to remain disconnected, and they don't want you to see any of the truth involved. There's a reason why you have to drive so far away to get to a slaughterhouse. It's because they want it isolated. They don't want anyone in there. And
it's I'm reading this book at the moment called Every 12 Seconds. I did mention this last podcast, but I've read a little bit more since the last podcast. I haven't quite finished it yet. But it's basically talking about this whole thing about this guy who went in undercover in a slaughterhouse, and he was just saying that, you know, when you come to the front office of the property, it's all quite a nice office with lots of windows and nice carpet, and, you know, it's a nice looking office. But as you slowly get further back into the slaughterhouse where the real, like, horrible stuff starts happening, it becomes sectioned off, and only certain people are allowed in there, and it becomes less windows, and all this is done, like you said, it's all done on purpose, because there's this whole side of the meat and dairy industry that they do not want you to know. That's why you can go into a Coles, and, you know, you can go into any supermarket, and everything that's, you know, milk or dairy or meat or whatever is all pictured with, like, happy little farm animals and stuff. And you go to the butcher shop, and, you know, kids are given meat products with smiley faces on them because it makes them feel, like, good about eating it, and then they want to keep eating it, and then they get addicted to it, and then people can't stop eating these products because that's what they grow up thinking is okay to eat.
And the worst thing is when you go into the supermarket and you see RSPCA approved chicken.
RSPCA is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard of.
If the RSPCA was serious about animal welfare, do you really think they'd be supporting the slaughter of animals?
They would abolish it.
It's just
and
so dumb.
Some people argue. Some people say things like, "Yeah, but it's a step in the right direction." Okay, anything for animal welfare is a step in the right direction. But the other day there was a TV show on SBS. I think it was called For the Love of Meat, and I can't remember the guy's name who was hosting it. He wasn't a vegan. He was just kind of doing this experiment on what people think happens to their meat, and he was doing it with school kids, actually getting to draw pictures of what happens in the process of kids getting from an animal, the meat coming from an animal all the way through to their sandwich, essentially. Yeah. And he did this research, and he kept trying to call all these poultry farms to try and get access to them so he could actually show people what it looks like in a poultry farm. And lo and behold, nearly every poultry farm he called would not let him inside, because obviously they've got stuff to hide and they want people to see how horrible the conditions are. And he was allowed inside an RSPCA approved poultry farm, and these are broiler hens, so hens bred for meat. Yeah. Broiler chickens, sorry, they're not all hens. But he went in there, and even that, it's just jam-packed. There's like something like up to 40,000 or 60,000 hens per shed, which is, I think it's about 180 metres squared or something, all just jammed in this horrible confined environment full of ammonia from the fumes from their feces. Oversized chickens that can't hold themselves up because their legs are too small for their bodies. And this is RSPCA approved. If the RSPCA really wanted to approve stuff, why are they approving stuff that's still completely horrific? Like, it's absolute bullshit. So, yeah, people definitely sort of believe all the lies that they're told by the meat and dairy industry, and that's why, you know, people like myself and you know, we're trying to make a bit of an effort to, you know, make people aware of these practices and make people aware that, like, it's not what we were brought up believing, and we've got to make a change, not just for the animals' sake, but for our sake and the planet's sake. I mean, it's destroying the planet. It's one of the biggest contributors to environmental destruction ever. 51% of greenhouse gases are caused through livestock. I mean, take that away, and our ozone is we're going to give it a hell of a break. And we're going to have all these problems with climate change. Yeah. Again.
I mean, look at the barrier reef.
Yeah, exactly.
The barrier reef is destroyed.
It's dying. So, and how long have you been vegan?
It will be 7 years, January 1st.
7 years, okay. Yeah, and that was sort of, what was your sort of main inspiration for going vegan? Like, besides obviously, you know, morally you thought it was the right thing to do, but was there sort of a turning point or something?
I get a major influence were people like yourself. And our good friend Ben Coit, both of you have been vegan for a long time, and also the mighty force that is Earth Crisis.
Same as me. I actually mentioned Earth Crisis in one of the last episodes. I sort of explained to everybody, because obviously a lot of the listeners probably don't come from a hardcore or metal background, punk rock background, but Earth Crisis were, just to reiterate, it was a big band in the hardcore scene back in the 90s, and they were very outspoken on veganism and animal rights, which is where I learned it from, and I guess Stu grew up listening to them as well.
And I guess the way that Earth Crisis delivered their message was in a way that really impacted me because it was intellectual, it was factual, but it was also completely unapologetic and sincere. Like there was no like dancing around the issue.
It's okay like, if you want to do this.
It's like, this is it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
this is wrong. We need to do this. We need to do something about it right now. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. There is a war. This is a weapon.
Exactly.
That's how it is.
And that's actually true. I mean, when you really think about it, like animal rights, it really is a war. We're battling these multi-billion-dollar industries to try and have a little bit of like sanity on this planet. Yet sometimes when you think about the scope of what we would like to happen, it's quite overwhelming because just a Friday night I was out at the markets and I went to a pure vegetarian, little vegetarian place in the food hall, which I love, nice and cheap, 3 choices for $9.80.
Yeah.
It's always good, been there for about 20 years, been a classic staple of ours for a long time. This is in Adelaide, Australia, by the way. And I was, there's so many other restaurants in that food hall, and I was, just walking around, just thinking. I actually said to Amy, my fiance, I was saying, just think about what's in all these people's stomachs right now. Right now, in these stomachs, there's probably hundreds of the combined amount of animals in all these people's stomachs is probably in the hundreds. I said, isn't it disgusting? It's like this is walking graveyards of people, and it just. I know it just like it fascinates me that people want to put for their health, not just for their health, but the other day I thought I had a scare that I'd eaten something that had meat in it.
Yeah,
I got some vegetarian dumplings and I ate one, and then the second one I kind of broke it open and I was like, oh, that looks a bit meaty, and I freaked for a little bit and I thought, oh my god, it's pork, and I had a little bit of like anxiety, just thinking, oh my god, I've got a part of a pig in my stomach, and I wanted to vomit it up and I didn't know what to do, so I ran over to the store and I said, I think you've given me the meat one, and she's like, no, that's minced tofu, and I was like, oh, thank god. But how are they okay with putting that into their body and knowing that they've got this death inside them, like you said before, like consuming this suffering?
I think it's more complacency. I mean, as humans, we're brought up to, especially these days, we're brought up to always take the easy option. Do you know what I mean? And that's what meat is. It's
too hard to go vegan.
Meat is easy. They've completely eliminated the slaughter process out of it. You don't have to see any of the gross bits anymore. All you have to do is get this lovely cling wrap box and unwrap it and throw it in your fry pan or on your barbecue, and you're ready to go. It's so easy just to forget and not even take into account that an animal was killed against its will in order for you to have a meal. And I think like when you are vegan or vegetarian and you do know these facts, like I think it can be almost detrimental a bit to yourself if you dwell on that a lot, because a lot of the times you'll walk around the street. And I know for me personally, like, you'll be walking through the city or a shopping mall or something, and someone will walk past, like, eating a burger from McDonald's or eating KFC. And a lot of the time I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you all? Like, just fucking wake up. Do you know what I mean?
And you're seeing the patty in that burger as a living, well, something that was a living, breathing, feeling, sentient being, I should say. But to them, it's just a patty in a burger. They've probably not even thought about what it is. And I feel like, you think about this, like, so many people, the majority of people are kind, compassionate, caring people, right? And they're not all vegans or not all vegetarians. I know plenty of people who are lovely people who just haven't made that connection. And people I totally respect and admire. Yet I feel like if they had the same sort of awakening to what actually goes on in the animal agriculture industry as you and me have, I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to get them to make the connection. That was one other question I was going to ask you is, do you think everybody is capable of making that connection, or do you think some people just they just don't care?
I think everyone is capable of making it, because as humans we have a moral scale. Do you know what I mean? You don't walk around the streets and stab everyone because there's something inside you that tells you it's wrong. You don't walk down the street and see someone coming towards you walking their dog and you walk up to that dog and just kick it in the head because that tells you it's wrong. On the same scale, if you gave someone a knife and then brought them to a cow and said, okay, slit that cow's throat, 99% of people are going to go, no. Why
most people couldn't do it.
Yeah,
And
why would I want to do that? I don't want to hurt that cow. And if it's that moral guideline that, you know, so many people live their lives by, I don't understand why that can't be applied to the food that they eat and certain lifestyle decisions that they choose, you know, in regards to like leather or fur or stuff like that.
But
on that same note, I think it's because there is such a massive disconnection that people don't apply that moral scale to their food because they just don't make the connection.
They don't make the connection, but a lot of people are capable.
And in order to make that connection, I think it really does depend on the facts that they are presented with and the manner in which it is presented to.
Exactly. That's
by saying like, I'm vegan and you're not, fuck you, you're worthless, get fucked.
Yeah.
Fuck off. That's not going to work.
And this is something I've discussed, I think I probably talked about it in the first episode of the podcast, is, you know, I've definitely have had my fair share. I've had times where I've come across as an angry vegan, and I explain it to people as like, you know, if I'm spending a day up at Freedom Hill Sanctuary and then I come back down and I see all these pigs come back down the hill and there's all these pigs trapped in a truck and I just get furious because I can't help them, you know, I might have those days where I might post a bit of an angry post, but as I've sort of got a little bit more involved with being a bit more active, I've started to, and I'm talking to other people and how they do their kind of activism, I've been kind of trying to learn that, okay, just saying something because you're angry is probably just going to piss people off too much. Doesn't mean you have to hide the truth. Like, you can still share something that's challenging for people and ask them hard questions because the truth is hard. I just feel like you don't necessarily need to guilt trip them and make them feel like they need to get their back up immediately because you want them to think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm learning that too.
The main objective is to get people to think
and to question themselves.
You want to have people be able to see something and go, well, does that apply to what I'm doing? And if it does, do I feel comfortable allowing that to continue? And if the answer is no, then that opens the door to, well, I'm not comfortable with this. How can I make a change to start, you know, eradicating these things from my life because I obviously don't like them and it doesn't sit well with me, and that's where a transition to a vegetarian or vegan diet can start. And I understand that sometimes a massive change is conflicting and it can be confronting, and a lot of people feel if they do say, okay, I want to be a vegetarian, and they might waver a little bit. They don't want to be outspoken about it because they're still finding their foundations into that transition. But all I can say, if you're listening to this and you are eating meat and you're considering a transition to a vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, just try it.
Like, have a meat-free month.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Just try it and see if you feel the benefits. See if you feel better because you're not consuming products that are based from suffering and pain and torture and murder. And yeah, just that's all you can do. Taking those first initial steps is such a massive accomplishment. Even to say that you do acknowledge what's going on and you can make that connection and see what's happening. That's such a massive achievement. And even if you do falter occasionally, and you might eat a burger and then go back to eating meat no meat for another week, at least you have you've made that connection, and you're building that foundation that you can continue on with.
Because it can definitely be a pretty maybe for someone who's like, maybe they go to the Vegan Alliance Facebook or Instagram for the first time and they think, far out, this seems like pretty hard, like it's pretty full on, like there's a lot of all these scary facts and I'm not really sure how to change, but I kind of want to change, but it's a little bit too hard. And what if I go around to my grandma's house and she feeds me this and stuff? It can be a pretty overwhelming thing to think I need to change overnight, and that's the thing. You don't need to just. I mean, if you can just switch overnight and you're totally fine with it, and you find that easy, great. But you can do it slowly. I mean, it's just like anything. You don't need to jump in cold turkey, no pun intended. But you don't need to just jump into it. You can actually transition a little bit, and that's why I think vegetarianism shouldn't be the final stop. It should just be a transitional phase to get into to veganism. And once you maybe you become vegetarian and then you start sort of going, okay, now I've got rid of that meat. Now what about eggs? Well, what's wrong with eggs or what's wrong with dairy? Okay, and how can I substitute those things? And just talk to people. I mean, I always say to people if they want to email me or send me messages, I'll always reply. If you've got a legitimate question and you're not just trolling me, I'm more than happy to reply and give you some advice. And
while we're also on that topic of like finding your feet when it comes to making that transition, this may be an unpopular statement with some of the listeners listening, but I really do believe stay away from sites like PETA. Stay away from all of that because it's so far off the point that it's ridiculous. Like being like, oh yeah, you should become vegan and vegetarian because these celebrities are. You should become vegan and vegetarian because these sexy people are. Fuck all of that. If you're going to get into animal rights because you want to be sexy or popular or celebrity driven, you're in it for completely the wrong reasons and it won't last because everything that is there to fuel your ego, to make you some kind of status icon, it's fruitless and it's just completely retarded.
I think,
and it's not going to last at all. Even if maybe the intention is good, it's just the backbone isn't there.
I think PETA, obviously PETA's fighting for the same battle we are, but yeah, sometimes some of their sort of campaigns and that are a little bit questionable. And I definitely think that being an ethical vegan is a selfless step, really. You're doing it for the animals, you're not doing it for popularity or whatever. And there are quite a lot of people out there, tend to sort of have this sort of, got quite a sort of following and stuff, and they don't really use their platform for any good. There's quite a lot of YouTubers and Instagram people out there who are like, they really have this opportunity to say more and do more, but they really just kind of talk a lot of crap, and it just doesn't make sense, and it turns into this sort of drama. And I think, like you're right, PETA definitely have some sort of questionable sort of ways that they go about things. I actually think that, there's some if you really want a good source of information, if you go to adapt.org, I think that's ADAPTT.org, that's Gary Yourofsky's website, that pretty much has, and that guy's a selfless guy. He just does it for the love of animals.
And I mean, failing that, if you want all the ammunition you need, all the facts you need, presented to you in a completely non-judgmental way, but also just straight up and zero bullshit, go to YouTube and listen to Gary Yourofsky's speech. It's just, I believe it's called the best speech ever.
It pretty much is. It is the best speech ever.
It will change your life.
And
if you're a meat eater, even if you're a staunch meat eater, I strongly encourage you to just listen to it and just see what your perspective is by the end of it. Because if it doesn't change you or if it doesn't trigger any kind of emotion in you, I really think you're dead inside.
I think he's a really, really smart guy, and he's a great public speaker. He makes so many good points, and just the way he delivers his message is fantastic. And he's not doing it through any sort of sense of ego or any sense of kind of popularity. He really just has that love for veganism and animal rights. And I think you're right with the PETA thing. I think using some PETA websites and some resources are definitely useful. Obviously, there's useful facts in there, but just don't get too caught up in the whole kind of some of the marketing stuff that they use to try and get people involved. That like you said, it is a little bit just sort of misses the point a little bit. Another thing I wanted to ask is just quickly is. You're from Melbourne. Obviously, You've got a million good vegan restaurants there.
Yeah.
there's probably too many to choose from. Maybe it's not in Melbourne, but what is your favourite vegan restaurant or cafe of all time? You've travelled a lot, so it's a pretty big question.
It's a very, very hard question. I'm big and I've eaten a lot of food and I love eating food.
And you're in California a lot?
Yeah, I reckon I can nail it down to a top 3.
I'll do a top 3.
Okay.
Starting at number 3.
Number 3, Veggie Grill.
And tell people where Veggie Grill's based.
Veggie Grill is predominantly based in California. I believe they have one. There's one in Portland, in Oregon.
No, they've actually. I saw in the news the other day. They had 28 stores on the West Coast, right? Mm-hmm. It's a fast food restaurant, but it's vegan, all vegan. Yeah. So all that.
The entire menu is vegan. All bunch of
and lots of healthy stuff too, not just
different burgers, like chicken burgers, beef burgers. They do nachos. They do mac and cheese. They do soups. They do a whole bunch of healthy bowls, which are like different salad bowls with different proteins in them, like different chicken.
And they've doubled they just added another 28 stores nationwide across the state. So now they have 56 stores. I mean, that's pretty big deal for a vegan food chain. So Veggie Grill, yeah, that's it. That's number 3. Number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to say Real Food Daily, which is also based in Los Angeles. It's 100% vegan kind of diner, but just the food there is phenomenal. Oh God, my mouth is salivating thinking about it.
So your mouth's salivating, you've just filled yourself with a vegan seafood basket.
I could go to Real Food Daily now and eat more.
Wow, yeah, there's always room for dessert, we know that. Yeah. And number 1?
Number 1 is, maybe it's biased because it's in right around the corner from where I live at the moment, but Smith and Daughters / Smith and Deli. The most phenomenal place.
Surely everybody's heard of those two places right now, but maybe just give them a quick rundown just in case.
Smith and Daughters was the initial brainchild of Maureen Weiss and Shannon Martinez with help from Mo's husband, Callum Preston. They came together, Maureen and Shannon came together and decided that they would create a vegan restaurant, and they just took a bit of a gamble and set up Smith and Daughters in Fitzroy on Brunswick Street in Fitzroy in Melbourne. And as luck would have it, it was insanely successful. The food is so amazing.
Didn't it win People's Choice Best Restaurant of the Year?
Something like that. Yeah. Shannon, the head chef, is not vegan. And I think this is what makes it so good, because she will get the meat-based traditional dishes and eat that and then make the same thing vegan and then test them and won't be satisfied until the vegan version is just as good as the meat.
So it's pretty much tastes exactly the same.
Yeah. And it's incredible. It's Southern American style food, Spanish food. They've done like the whole junk kind of fast food kind of menu.
Such a cool vibe in there from Callum's artwork. And
everything is vegan. And then, after a year of Smith and Daughters being opened, they decided to take it to the next step and opened a New York-style deli around the corner where people can just walk in and just buy a million different types of sandwiches, pies, cakes, slices, chocolate bars.
Probably not the healthiest, but delicious.
And everything 100% vegan.
And probably the best stuff you've ever tasted in your life.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Fried chicken Wiggum. Oh. Yeah. I could probably eat one of them now, and I'm extremely full.
Oh gosh, but yeah, it's a good time to be alive.
It is, and we're definitely on the same page, and it's good to have some. Obviously, it's hard for people who maybe don't know any vegans or they don't have any friends that are vegan. It can be a little bit tricky. Like you and me and our group of friends are pretty lucky because we had a pretty good group of vegans growing up through our 20s, so had that support network there. But the thing is, these days with social media, there's so many people out there that are like myself, even if I don't know someone, if they want to contact me and need a little bit of support, maybe their parents and family and that are giving them a hard time, I'm more than happy to touch base, give you a little bit of advice. There's plenty of other people like that too, so you don't need to feel alone.
And that's the other thing as well. If you're making those initial steps and someone's writing you off or giving you a hard time, fuck them. Don't listen to them. Don't take any bullshit that they're saying to heart. You are making the right choice. Veganism is the right way. Vegetarianism is the right way. Don't let anyone try and discourage you. Don't let anyone take you off the path, because you are heading in the right direction. And just always remember, for the animals, always and forever.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered everything, Stu. And thanks very much for joining me today. I'm sure I'll get you back on the podcast at some other stage when we have a little bit more time. It's a little bit rushed. Stu we only really had about a 1 hour window to do this interview. So
if you need anyone to. If you're looking for a marriage celebrant, I'm your guy.
Yeah, well, Stu's actually going to get his celebrant license and be the vegan celebrant. So if anyone's getting married, send the Vegan Alliance a message and I'll send you his way.
Sweet.
Thanks, Stu.
Thanks a lot. You.
So there you have it. That was my friend Stuart Manuell from Melbourne. Good friend of mine, and got a lot of great things to say on animal rights and veganism. So if you're listening, Stu, thanks very much for being on the podcast. That's pretty much it for today. I wanted to just do a quick one, and I wanted to sort of try my hand at doing my first interview with somebody, so I hope you enjoyed it. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to one of my friends, Jack. He runs a vegan and kind of mostly vegan, sort of political-based clothing label called Outcast Agenda, and he's been on a little bit of a hiatus in the last couple of years. He actually works with Sea Shepherd. He was a Sea Shepherd volunteer on some of their ships, and he's pretty much been doing that for as long as I've known him. And again, he's not a person I know overly well, just someone I connected with online, and we had a few chats, and I really like what he was doing with Outcast Agenda. He calls it anti-oppression clothing. It was established in 2011. He's got an Instagram, Outcast Agenda Clothing, and he does a heap of cool different t-shirts and hooded jumpers and bits and pieces with some great messages on it, and I just really love it if everybody could check him out, and hopefully in the near future we'll have a little bit more access to Outcast Agenda clothing in Australia. He is based out of the States, but he's working on some things to get it a bit more readily available in Australia. And it's great to support these kinds of clothing companies who, they're not really doing it for money. They're not in it for some sort of big business. They're just doing it for the love of their cause. And if you actually follow Jack, he's one of the realest dudes. He puts his money where his mouth is, and he's out there on the front lines doing stuff for animals and our planet. So please check out Outcast Agenda Clothing. That's my shout out for today. I sort of want to keep you updated with some of the different clothing labels and companies that I'm finding out there on social media. There's so many of them, it's hard to pick sometimes, but this is the first one I sort of thought of today, and I really like what Jack's doing. So definitely check that out. Until next time, which hopefully won't be too long, because I did say on my last podcast that I was going to have my fiance Amy on the next one, but it just happened that Stu was over from Melbourne, so I got him on this episode instead. So Amy's going to be up on the next one. And as you can hear, we've actually got a better microphone now, so I'm hoping it sounds a little bit better. From now on, we'll be recording through a proper microphone, not just the laptop. So, hope it's a little bit more listenable. So until next time, if you've got any questions, please send them to me on the Vegan Alliance on Instagram, or the Vegan Alliance on Facebook. There's also my email address, theveganalliance618@gmail.com. Send me any questions, criticisms. I don't care if you want to troll me, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to send me, send it to me. If it's a reasonable enough request or question, I'll send you a reply. If it's something you want me to talk about on the podcast, I'm more than happy to bring it up. please get involved. I'd love to have a little bit more input and a little bit more feedback on the podcast. It's been great so far, actually. Over the last 4 episodes, it's definitely starting to get a little bit of momentum. And keep in touch, and I'd love to hear from everybody. So until next time, probably in the next week or two, stay vegan, and don't give up the fight.